Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to First Parish on this is a very special Sunday. And happy spring, of course, to you. Today, in the tradition of, might I say, homegrown talent, we have a member of our congregation from years gone by who went on to study at seminary and become a minister. I'm happy if you have not met Minister Reverend Ruth E. Gibson, and she'll tell you more about that journey, I'm sure. Okay, now I get the glasses, bear with me. All right. First Parish is a welcoming community, and I'm happy to see that there are some people with us who may not have been around before. We are And if you choose to wear a mask and you would like more protection, you can sit in the last 3 rows, and those are reserved for mask wearers only. Announcements today. We have a couple special ones. First, I'll call up Alan Brooks, and Alan Brooks has some information about our annual campaign.
Good morning, all. So hopefully everybody knows the pledge drive is ongoing. We're going pretty well. We're about halfway to our goal, and we've heard from about half of it. So that's pretty good. It's about average for this point in the campaign. But we really do need to hear from the rest of you. And hopefully soon we will be reaching out. But if you can make a decision, please try to do so. And whatever you decide will be generous and appreciated. If you have any questions on stewardship, with pledge drive, or budget, please contact either myself or Gene Cahill. Okay? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Alan. And Alan is heading up that campaign. And now we have Celia Brown, who has some surprise information.
Hi, it's not you excited. I just want to say that next Sunday, at coffee hour, we will be meeting in here to hear a presentation by the event committee. On a new initiative. What's Easter Sunday?
April 2nd.
April 7th.
So 2 Sundays.
2 Sundays. I'm sorry, you're right. Thank you for the correction. Are you April 7th? Oh, 2 Sundays.
That would help. Try it.
So it wasn't me. No, that's okay. All right, I'll start all over again. April 7th, 2 weeks from now, we will have our service and coffee hour. And after coffee hour, we ask for those of you, and many of you, to come, and also on Zoom, to hear a very exciting initiative that's being put together by the event committee, which used to be the fundraising committee. And Addie and Lori Pandit will be announcing, and they really want you to hear their thoughts and get your feedback to see if you want to join in what they're hoping will be a new direction for First Parish. Okay, thanks.
I believe those are all of the announcements. If anyone has another that I've forgotten, please speak up. And otherwise, we will enter into a time of worship. I am. Our opening words today are from the writings of Brian Swim. Is that his? Thank you. Dragons are powerful, mysterious creatures. Dragons are teachers of wisdom. Dragons are full of fire. The universe gives fire to us also and calls us to hold and tend this fire. Nothing is more important in tending our inner fire. We take part in the awesome work of shaping the universe.
Thanks, Sally, for coming to light our chalice. Our chalice shines with the warmth of love, the light of truth, and empowering energy. Each of us is like a chalice. By the warmth of our spirits, we give our love. By the light of our spirits, we seek new truth. And by the power of our spirits, we find energy to help and to serve. Please join in the opening hymn. It is 393. I know this rose will open, and I believe we're going to sing it in unison and then in a round.
396.
396. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Thank you for that. I know this rose will open. I know my fears will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know my fear. I know my fear. I know my soul. I know this rose. 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 I know my fear. I know my fear. I know my soul. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose. I know this rose will open.
This first reading is by Osho, and it's called When the New Knocks on Your Door, Open It. The new does not arise out of you. It comes from beyond. It's not part of you. You have lived in one way, you've thought in one way, you've made a comfortable life out of your beliefs. Then something new knocks at the door. Now your whole past pattern is going to be disturbed. If you allow the new to enter, you will never be the same again. The new will transform you. It is risky. One never knows where you will end with the new. The old is known, familiar. You have lived with it. You're acquainted with it. The new is unfamiliar. It may be the friend, it may be the enemy, who knows? And there is no way to know. The only way to know is to allow it. Hence, the apprehension, the fear. And you cannot keep rejecting it either, because the old has not given you what you seek. The old has been promising, but the promises have not fulfilled. You want to become new. And yet, when the new knocks on your door, you shrink back, you withdraw, you hide in the old. This is the dilemma. So how do we become new? Courage is needed, And not ordinary courage, extraordinary courage is needed. And the world is full of cowards, people who have stopped growing. How can you grow if with each new opportunity you withdraw, you hide in the old? So how do we become new? We do not become new of ourselves. Newness comes from beyond. The unknown and the unknowable, the beyond, has ingress into you because you are never sealed and set apart. You are not an island. You may have started thinking, I'm separate, but the whole, the beyond, knows that you are not separate. It is still in contact with you. That's why the new goes on coming, although you don't welcome it. It comes every morning. It comes every evening. It comes in 1,001 ways. Always receive the new with great joy. Thank you.
Good morning. It's now time for joys and sorrows. I don't have a script, so I'm not sure what's going to come out of my mouth, but I'll try to remember everything.
The half plate this month goes to you the vote. Our faith, the Unitarian Universalist faith, calls us towards building democratic process in our congregations, in our communities. This year, we will continue to advance commitment to democracy through local action, election defense, and rigorous political education. There's never been a more important time. I invite you to give as generously as you can. And if you are not in a position to donate today, I've never really paid attention to the fact that there is a direct donate button in your Friday perspective, and you can simply press that button and donate via PayPal. So thank you. Our second reading comes from section 67 of the Tao from Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. The way gives me 3 teachings which I cherish. The first, compassion. Next, moderation. And third, humility. For if I practice compassion, I gain courage. Moderation allows me to be generous. And with humility, I may rise to be the world's most useful instrument. Courage without compassion, generosity without moderation, rising without humility, this path leads to the death of hope. But the way of compassion, this is the path which sustains us without fail.
Chinese dragon, the toast of New Year's Day, with legs of nearly every shape and size. They dance in all directions and in such disarray, I fear she'll fall apart before my eyes. The head goes left and the tail goes right, the feet go fast and the body goes slow, the front end pushes and the back end pulls, and there seems to be no plan. But they no matter, the dragon stays together. Some feet are wearing sandals, or moccasins, or pumps, or boots with laces drifting on the ground. The dragon bends and stretches, her body sags and humps, but somehow that momentum is around. Although she goes to and fro with a vertigo, though we all know there is no status quo below. But they no matter, 'cause the dragon stays together. I marvel at this dragon, cavorting in the street, this multiped made up of such extremes. I wonder how she functions with all those different feet. What keeps the beast from squinting at the seams? Although she goes to and fro with the vertigo, and well I know there is no status quo below. But they no matter, 'cause the dragon stays together.
Some of you know that the first time I found the courage in my mind to speak in front of a group of people was here in this church. Linda Clark and I were going to present a dragon, a family service about the dragon. And I broke my ankle and I couldn't come. But I've taken the idea of what we can learn from this traditional story and traditional teachings, like everywhere I've been ever since. And when I was serving the first congregation, the First Unitarian Society in Madison, Wisconsin, a student at the university there, a student in music, saw the dragon service and was inspired to write this song. She's since become a very well-known musician in many circles. And when she met me someplace, I don't know, 20 or 15 years later, she said, "Did you know that the dragon song is the opus #1 in my body of works?" So I'm really grateful to Olga and the choir for bringing that song to you today, because that song belongs to you as much as to anybody, because you were kind of where the seed got planted. Now about the dragons. Long ago, in ancient and olden days, it was said that the dragon, a most powerful and mysterious being, would be a teacher to anyone truly wishing to be wise. But then in most stories, the dragon also seems to be a dangerous monster. So if a dragon is a wise teacher, why would it begin by frightening us? It's natural to be apprehensive about anything new. Most of us are not that afraid of the things we understand. It's the things that we don't understand, the things that are strange, that frighten us. And Osho, a teacher in the Hindu tradition, tells us that the new persists in presenting itself to us so that we may grow. In the language of theistic mystics, God, the infinite lover of us all, pursues us, woos us, continually appears before us with sprays of flowers or burning bushes or bolts of lightning, whatever it takes to get our attention. In Chinese tradition, the beyond comes to us in the form of a dragon, heralded by drums and firecrackers at the start of the new year. This year, I went to a Chinese New Year festival in Raleigh, North Carolina, with my 5-year-old grandson. There was a splendid dragon that came dancing through the plaza, and some of the smallest children were frightened at first. But then they saw their friends and their siblings and other children running up to greet the dragon, and they also became brave. Ritual encounters with dragons help us gain confidence. Then when we find ourselves in another strange or uncomfortable situation, we can say, "But I'll be okay. I once met a dragon." The next year, if the dragon comes again, we'll greet the dragon with joy instead of fear. And this is why the dragon begins by frightening us. Courage is necessary in order for us to grow in spirit. But as Lao Tzu reminds us in his writing on the Tao, or the way of being, courage is empty without compassion. That ability to imagine how someone else feels, to share that feeling, and to be kind to that person because you understand how they feel. Human beings often avoid others who seem very different from ourselves in appearance or attitude or beliefs. We turn away and we don't see what's inside their minds and hearts. But when we have compassion, we can accept those differences. We might in time even come to enjoy them and be enriched by them. Even knowing this, it's still not unusual for us to feel nervous or even fearful when we encounter people who are very different or strange. But look closely. You'll see behind those dragons strange appearances, different beliefs and behaviors of other people. They are, after all, just ordinary people, a lot like you. You know, I was told once, human beings share about 70% of our DNA with pumpkins. And so even the person with whom you have nothing at all in common is more like you than otherwise. And approached with compassion, this person could become your great friend or your best teacher. Compassion, the power to understand and share someone else's feelings, is one of the very best human attributes. Compassion is a gift that all truly wise and truly happy people possess, and you can claim it for yourself and strengthen it by exercising the second treasure that Lao Tzu mentions, a practice of moderation that allows you to be generous, even or especially to dragons. So often, our excesses are unwise compensations for the things we feel are lacking in our lives. So often, when we feel unsure or insecure, we overstate, we overspend, we eat and drink more than is good for us. Actually, our culture encourages us to do this, advertising in the most persuasive ways the things that we should buy more of so that we can be more happy. And even when we have good intentions, excessive giving can often get in the way of the good we intend. When we encounter other people whose suffering distresses us, so often our first response to the need is to throw money at the problem. Often such giving is really a means of alleviating our own discomfort with someone else's pain. This is a lesson I learned in so many ways through my relationships with our partner churches in Transylvania and India. We North Americans started out wanting to send them money, but our partners urged us instead to please use that money to come and visit them. We want you to know us. We want to know you. We want to have a relationship. And then too often we mean to be generous, but we think that because we're in the privileged position as giver, we know better than the recipients what sort of help they really need. This kind of arrogance often does more harm than good. And I'm not going to tell you long stories about it, but you can imagine how it might. I'll just say briefly that my first partner church, we wanted to send them money to buy a tractor. But we told them that they could use the money however they really needed it. And they decided to use the money to buy a new bell because their church bell had cracked. And it turned out that the tractor would have caused a lot of division in the community because there would have been arguments about who got to use it, who would pay for the gas, who would repair it. But the bell was used to bring the whole community together. And this kind of giving, the arrogant giving where I say, you are in trouble, I know what you need and I'm going to fix it and here's the money. That gets in the way of mutual relationships. It impedes learning from different people's different life experiences and situations. In many instances, money actually is the fastest and most effective way to alleviate the suffering. But in any situation where there's an opportunity for a really true connection to be made with others, it's better to begin the relationship by spending time together, coming to understand each other's lives and hopes. If your arms are full of gifts, you really can't embrace the other. When we ground our generosity in moderation and on a foundation of relationship, we are well on the way to being part of the dragon and truly wise. Now, what about the third treasure, humility? What can the dragon teach us? Well, once we've learned to greet the dragon with joy, it becomes clear that it's really a marvelous mask covering up a whole line of dragon dancers. And if you care to stay in the sanctuary, like after the service is over, I believe there's going to be a little slideshow that shows you some dragon dancers in action. And you could begin to notice how the dragon dancers move, and then you admire their skill. Maybe you begin to imagine that you are, or you could become, part of the dragon that used to frighten you. And it's not hard to realize that courage and compassion, moderation and generosity are not going to be sufficient here. There's one more step. We need that third great treasure Lao Tzu mentions. To be part of the dragon, you must practice humility. Humility means you can't just do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. Humility takes into consideration all those who are also part of the dragon with you. You have to stick together and cooperate. You have to put up with people accidentally stepping on your toes. You have to pay attention so as not to step on theirs too much. Sometimes you're going to stumble and trip or move the wrong way at the wrong time, and you're going to have to count on each other to notice and help you pick yourself up and keep on going. But humble cooperation with others is not the easiest thing in the world. At least in my observation, it's not that easy for North American Unitarian Universalists. And perhaps that's why it's implied in the last of our 7 principles, that we affirm and promote this knowing our place in the interdependence of all things, but we don't do that until we've had a chance to practice and affirm the other 6 principles, which kind of lead us there. Because so many of us are so intelligent and so creative and so caring and so independent that we're very sure that we know the best way to do whatever it is that needs to be done. And it makes it really, really hard to put up with all those other people who just don't see it that way. And then it's hard to learn from them because we're right. And any right-minded person would know that we were right. And I have to tell you, as a firstborn child of above average intelligence, I found humility to be a significant challenge in my life. But after years of practice, even I'm beginning to manage it now and again. Humility is one of my good things, good at doing it. Compassion and moderation and humility, One or all of these spiritual practices could call for some change in our way of life. Those of us who find life is pretty comfortable the way it is might not welcome change. But change is coming, whether we like it or not. However comfortable we might be with the way things are for us, we don't have to look very far to see that the way things are going in the world is not so good. There are some really frightening problems. There's poverty, there's war, there's energized white supremacy, global warming, and economic injustice. And I know that each of us could add lots more to this short list. The nature of our relatively immature species leads us to cluster with people who are like us, the better to attack or protect ourselves from those who are different. We persist in patterns of immoderate consumption that erode the ground we stand on, pollute the air and water that all beings need in order to live. We cling to the comforts and privileges that do us more harm than good. I'm not saying we don't need to pay attention to what's good and beautiful in life. Practicing the three treasures of compassion, moderation, and humility encourage us to take some time off from saving the world or fixing it or worrying about it, so that we can focus on those things that delight and comfort us. And that gives us a chance for healthy rest and exercise for body and soul. That way we stay strong enough to put our weight on that moral arc that bends towards justice and help it bend a little more in that direction. There's an ancient Chinese proverb that reminds us, the birds of worry and care might fly over your head. This you cannot change. But that they build nests in your hair, this you can prevent. What dragons have you encountered in your life? Where are you now confronted by the awesome beyond? To what new adventure or change does it invite you? How might the treasures of compassion, moderation, and humility help you to find a wise path? I'd like to give you about 3 minutes or so to just quietly think about that. Listen to what's going on in your own head. You don't have to listen to me for a bit. How can we learn to practice the compassion that gives us courage, the moderation that permits generosity, the humility that could empower us to serve and save the world? Do we need a new ritual that helps us meet and greet a dragon? It couldn't hurt. But while the wisdom of the world's religions is an important source for the nurture of our spiritual growth, our own religious tradition has a rich heritage. The best place to begin may be to practice our own faith more faithfully, to know it more deeply. The most basic teachings from both the Universalist and the Unitarian sides of our religious family tree have three values in common: enduring and cherished, which, like Lao Tzu's three treasures of compassion, moderation, and humility, are conducive to spiritual growth. Often we speak of these as we light our chalice to symbolize our faith. Our chalice shines, we say, with the warmth of love, the light of truth, the energy to serve. With the warmth of our spirits, we give our love. In so doing, we grow in compassion and find courage. We will often do things for those we love that we would not dare to do for ourselves alone. With the light of our spirits, we seek the truth. In so doing, we also affirm that each person's perspective on the truth is unique, and we remind ourselves, in humility, that our understanding is only partial and will ever be so. With the energy of our spirits, we serve in generosity to bring joy and justice, hope and healing, beauty and goodness to the world which is our home, and home for everything we love and everything we do not know. I invite you to join in singing hymn number 168, One More Step. Sally, will you come to extinguish the chalice? We extinguish the flame in our chalice, but not the fire of spirit in the chalice of our bodies. For in tending our inner fire, we take part in the awesome work of shaping the universe. Blessed be.
historically accurate cartoon princess dances. Today we're going to take an adventure traveling back in time and location to the Orient for Mulan. And in the Chinese culture, dragon dance would have been their traditional dance starting from the pre-Middle Ages. Today we're going to learn about dragon dancing because dragons were considered lucky in the Oriental culture. They were to drive off evil spirits, the drums were to scare away anything bad, and to draw in good luck for the year, traditionally done for the Chinese New Year's. So, without further ado, let's learn a little bit about Chinese dragon dancing. Okay, our first move will be chasing the Pearl of Wisdom. Mulan will serpentine with the lovely dragon dancers with the Pearl of Wisdom, which the dragon is always chasing. Our first serpentine looks like this. Pause. The dragon's movement often emulates water and can look just like a big ripple. Let's see the dragon rippling. All right, our next move will be our dragon chasing his tail. The Pearl of Wisdom will be curling in towards the dragon's tail. It will look like this.